Harry's heartbreak as the showbiz elite dump the Sussexes.
But is it really a charity project at all? The Invictus funds were directed towards private jets, five-star hotels, and transportation for Harry and Meghan.
I don't think a lot of veterans actually are devastated. The reality is, if you go deeper into Invictus, a lot of veterans are actually more upset, asking where all the money actually goes to.
Oh, the Invictus Games, it's great. It does all this. And then, you know, you start looking into it and you're like, hey, what the heck is going on here? You know, those 535 competitors had to pay their own way. They had to pay their own housing for the games. They had to pay for their own equipment. And Harry and Meghan got a really nice vacation out of it, with lots of adorational speeches and clapping and crowds gathered for them.
Instead of having every expense covered, many of the wounded veterans reportedly had to pay for their own flights, cover their own hotel stays, and even purchase some of the equipment they needed to take part in the competition. For many observers, that contrast has become one of the most talked about parts of the entire debate. Meanwhile, some of the most recognizable figures connected to the event were reportedly traveling with private transportation, premium arrangements, and luxury five-star accommodations. That contrast alone sparked fresh discussion, but it wasn't the only issue grabbing attention. There was also another financial figure that, according to several reports, was never expected to receive this much public focus or public debate. Once you hear how every piece fits together, it becomes much easier to understand why so many people have started asking difficult questions. The story really begins with a petition, because that single document has placed Prince Harry under growing public scrutiny and intensified the conversation surrounding the future of the Invictus Games. The petition is reportedly gaining support with one very specific request.
A growing scandal involving Prince Harry and his last remaining genuine charity project, the Invictus Games. But is it really a charity project at all?
I think that will be the beginning of the end for Meghan as a public figure, because this is a man that she's abandoned. Just awful. It will be shame on you, Meghan.
Remove Prince Harry from the Invictus Games. It does not call for restructuring the organisation or simply launching another internal review. Instead, it asks for his complete removal. Those supporting the petition continue to insist they are not criticising wounded veterans or the mission itself. They argue they are speaking out because they believe they are representing the concerns of veterans and protecting the long-term credibility of the Games. At the same time, reports citing a source said to be connected to Invictus claim that the royal family has allegedly reached a decision regarding the upcoming Birmingham launch scheduled for next month. According to those reports, no senior working royals are expected to attend. Not King Charles, not Prince William, and not Princess Catherine. A charity initiative once celebrated as Prince Harry's greatest accomplishment and often viewed as one of his most meaningful contributions, now appears to be facing mounting pressure from several different directions. So what is driving all of this growing concern? Critics continue pointing toward the financial reports, arguing that the published figures raise even more questions than many people originally anticipated. They believe the more closely the numbers are examined, the more debate they generate. The latest Invictus Games in Vancouver and Whistler reportedly welcomed 543 wounded and recovering service members representing 23 different countries. On the surface, the mission remains inspiring, bringing competitors together through resilience, recovery, and sport. However, attention quickly shifted once reports highlighted an estimated overall cost of approximately $63.2 million.
Some of the key lines from Paula's brand new and really jaw-dropping reporting this week. And of course, she's been very careful because we know how litigious Prince Harry can be, but this is really extraordinary stuff. So Paula reports, the most recent games held in Vancouver and Whistler in February 2025 brought together 543 wounded military veterans from 23 countries. The total cost, 63.2 million Canadian, or approximately $118,352 per competitor. Now, of course, Tom Bauer in his recent book Betrayal alleged that Invictus funds were directed towards private jets, five-star hotels, and transportation for Harry and Meghan.
That works out to roughly $118,000 for each competitor who participated. Now place those numbers beside other comparable competitions. The Warrior Games in the United States, which also provides athletic opportunities for wounded service members, reportedly operates with an annual budget of about $2 million. In Germany, a similar event was reportedly organized for approximately $200,000 while hosting around half as many participants. Those comparisons have become a major part of the ongoing discussion, with many observers asking whether the spending differences deserve a closer public look. Those figures are exactly why so many people have started asking one straightforward question. If the overall mission is meant to achieve similar goals, why does the reported cost appear to be so much higher? That single question has become the center of an increasingly heated public discussion, and it is where much of the debate truly begins. Reports indicate that public funding played a significant role in supporting the event. According to those reports, approximately $15 million came from the Canadian federal government, while another $15 million was reportedly provided by the government of British Columbia.
I sense a cover-up. The Invictus Games Foundation, the British charity at the centre of the operation, recently filed its 2024 annual accounts with the UK Charity Commission after a 2-year grace period. The numbers, Paula reports, raised red flags. In 2024, the foundation cut its direct grants to veteran organisations by 63%, from £534,973 to just £200,328. The same year, that foundation income rose 41%, a new 6-figure executive role was added, and cash reserves grew to $2.3 million.
Harry and Meghan came in for 10 minutes for an adoring love shot. And of course, Meghan kissed Harry. And it looked like it was good in full. It wasn't. So I think the public interest is waning. And also in this time of economic disparity, people really want to know where their money is going to. And there are lots of other places that actually support veterans, may give them prosthetics if they need, may build a wheelchair ramp at their home, which is necessary, may do things.
Those contributions have attracted attention because taxpayers naturally want to understand how public money is being managed and distributed. However, critics argue that the funding structure itself raises additional questions because the money reportedly was not transferred directly to the Games. Instead, reports suggest the funding first moved through a separate corporation, which then reportedly paid a licensing fee to the British charity that owns the Invictus name. The amount of that licensing fee has become one of the biggest talking points because, according to reports, the figure was redacted from publicly available documents. Once observers noticed that missing number, many began examining the financial records much more closely. According to critics, that deeper review only generated even more questions.
And how they're playing with the veteran money because they're getting a lot of funding from countries and places to get this, what would typically be veteran support income, that then goes to putting on the Invictus Games. Now, again, I'm not trying to be, belittling what the Invictus Games is trying to do, but I am asking the question of, is it really the best use of veteran funding? Why can't Harry get his own funding? Why is he relying on all these countries?
When the British Foundation eventually submitted its 2024 financial accounts, reportedly, after receiving an extension, observers reportedly went through the filings line by line, searching for anything that might explain the figures in greater detail. Reports claim that direct grants provided to veterans organisations fell by approximately 63%, dropping from more than £500,000 to roughly £200,000 within a single year. At the very same time, reports indicate that the foundation's income increased by more than 40%. A newly created 6-figure executive position also reportedly appeared, while cash reserves were said to have grown beyond £2 million. Those statistics quickly became a major focus for critics, who continue calling for greater transparency regarding how funds are allocated and how financial decisions are made. Take another careful look at those figures for a moment. According to critics reviewing the financial filings, They believe the overall pattern is difficult to ignore. They point to a year in which reported funding directed toward veterans organizations declined, while administrative and operational expenses appear to be increasing instead. That contrast continues attracting public attention and fueling debate, and the questions do not stop there. Reports indicate that legal expenses reportedly climbed from approximately £45,000 to around £155,000 in just 1 year, prompting even more discussion about where those additional costs originated and what factors contributed to such a noticeable increase. According to critics, there was very little public explanation offered for why those reported legal costs increased so dramatically. That lack of detailed clarification has become another point of discussion as more people continue reviewing the financial records and asking whether additional information should be made available. Another issue attracting attention involves an American for-profit company that reportedly received close to £30,000. Some observers argue the financial filings offered only limited information about the company's specific role, responsibilities, or the services it was expected to provide. As a result, that payment has become another topic of public debate. Then came the detail that quickly spread across online conversations. According to reports, the financial accounts appear to display two different company registration numbers, one listed on the front cover and another appearing on the balance sheet. Critics immediately highlighted that difference, with many questioning how such an inconsistency could appear in official documents connected to such a closely watched charitable organization. Think about that for a moment. People began asking how an organization associated with such a well-known international cause could reportedly face confusion over something as straightforward as a company registration number. Whether it ultimately proves to be a simple administrative mistake or something with a routine explanation, the discrepancy quickly became another major talking point in an already heated public discussion. The foundation has reportedly stated that 92% of every pound supports charitable activities. At first glance, that sounds like a very strong figure and one that would likely reassure many supporters. However, critics argue that the phrase charitable activities covers a broad range of expenses. They say those costs can include organising events, renting venues, travel arrangements, accommodations, staffing, production expenses, and other operational needs tied to running the games. Critics also argue there is an important distinction between funding the operation of a large international sporting event and providing direct assistance to veterans who may require specialised equipment, accessibility improvements, rehabilitation services, or other forms of practical support. For many observers, that distinction is where the conversation becomes much more focused and where attention shifts directly toward the competitors themselves and the support they actually receive. Reports have circulated claiming that many wounded and recovering veterans who took part covered expenses such as travel, accommodation, and equipment through their own personal resources, fundraising efforts, or assistance from family members and local support networks. Critics say those reports struck a nerve with many supporters who believed participants would receive more direct financial assistance throughout the process. Meanwhile, Prince Harry and Meghan have continued facing scrutiny over reports describing private travel, upscale accommodations, and expensive wardrobe choices connected to public appearances. One figure that circulated widely online claimed Meghan's clothing expenses totaled approximately $180,000, although those estimates have remained heavily debated and have not been universally accepted. Critics often place those reports alongside the sacrifices veterans reportedly made simply to attend the games. One supporter summed up that frustration by saying, "People donate for the men and women who sacrificed for their country, not for someone's designer wardrobe and room service." That comment quickly spread across online discussions and reflected the concerns many participants in the debate continue to raise. That growing public reaction helps explain why the petition continues attracting attention and generating more discussion. As the debate expands, another story keeps resurfacing whenever people begin talking about the Invictus Games, and it has become one of the more widely discussed moments connected to the event. In Tom Bower's book, A Wheelchair Basketball Match, between the United States and Nigeria is described in a way that prompted strong reactions from readers. According to that account, several American players reportedly stood up and walked away after the game had ended. Supporters were quick to remind people that not every injury can be seen with the naked eye. Psychological trauma, invisible injuries, and other service-related medical conditions are very real challenges that deserve understanding, recognition, and respect. At the same time, critics continue raising questions about competitive classifications and whether the events are organized in a way that maintains fairness for every participant. They argue that clear explanations help strengthen public confidence, while the supporters emphasize that the classification process already considers a wide range of medical circumstances. Regardless of where people stand, it became one of those stories that lingered in public discussion long after it first appeared. Then, there are the reports surrounding attendance figures. Some critics have claimed that certain competitions appeared to attract relatively small crowds, with volunteers reportedly outnumbering spectators by a noticeable margin. Others questioned whether television camera angles, production choices, and venue layouts created a different impression for viewers watching from home compared with what people attending in person actually experienced. Those differing perspectives only added another layer to the conversation. Critics also describe moments that reportedly lasted only a few minutes: a brief wave, a quick photo opportunity, a short greeting in front of cameras, followed by a fast departure. Whether that criticism is entirely fair or not, it remains another topic that continues fueling discussion and generating headlines. Every new report seems to encourage another round of public debate, with supporters and critics interpreting the same events in very different ways. And if someone believes the controversy ends with veterans and spectators, the discussion soon moves into another area altogether. This time, attention reportedly shifts toward government funding and a new set of uncomfortable questions. Australia has long been viewed as one of the Invictus Games' strongest supporters, making later reports about government backing especially noticeable. That is why reports claiming Australian government support was temporarily withdrawn generated so much attention. The timing made the situation even more dramatic because it reportedly happened while Prince Harry and Meghan were actively encouraging enthusiasm and public backing for the Games. From the outside, some observers argued the optics appeared challenging. You're encouraging people to rally behind the project, and then reports surface suggesting one of your major supporters has stepped back. That is exactly the kind of headline organisers generally hope to avoid. Some Australian observers have since pointed out that the support was reportedly reinstated, meaning the funding later returned. Even so, critics continue focusing on the original decision. Their argument remains straightforward. If officials were prepared to pause their support, what concerns or questions led them to make that decision before restoring the funding? That remains one of the key questions many observers continue asking as the broader debate unfolds. Because public funding decisions involving veterans are rarely made without careful consideration, many people believe the conversation naturally grew beyond simple public relations concerns. It soon expanded into broader discussions about accountability, value for money, financial oversight, and what the long-term future of the Invictus Games could ultimately look like. According to critics, those same concerns may also explain why increasing attention has shifted toward the organization's corporate sponsors. Take Boeing, for example. So it was really odd, but I do think that people are starting to cotton on. That comment has been repeated in discussions surrounding the Games as observers continue examining changes in corporate support. The aerospace company was reportedly one of the major presenting sponsors for the Vancouver Invictus Games. According to reports, once that sponsorship agreement came to an end, Boeing chose not to renew it. That decision quickly became another point of discussion among critics, who viewed it as a development worth examining more closely. For many observers, Boeing's involvement carried added importance because of the company's long-standing relationship with military aviation and defense industries. As a result, reports that the sponsorship was not renewed generated considerable attention. Critics began asking a straightforward but uncomfortable question. If a company with strong historical connections to military communities decides not to continue its sponsorship, what message might that send? Supporters, however, note that sponsorship decisions can be influenced by many business factors that are not always made public. That question encouraged many people to look more closely at the sponsorship figures. Reports suggest that the Vancouver Games benefited from support from more than 40 corporate partners. By comparison, reports indicate the upcoming Birmingham Games have secured approximately 11 sponsors contributing a combined estimated £4 million. Critics argue that the lower number has fueled concerns about sponsor confidence and overall momentum heading into the event. Then the discussion shifts to another issue that has attracted significant attention among British taxpayers. Reports indicate that the UK government has committed up to £26 million in public funding toward the Birmingham Games. Critics frequently compare that amount with Birmingham's widely reported financial challenges in recent years, pointing to concerns surrounding local council finances, public budgets, and essential services. They argue that these broader financial pressures make public spending decisions especially sensitive. That is where the debate becomes particularly intense. Critics argue that if private companies appear less willing to increase their financial support, taxpayers should not be expected to shoulder a larger portion of the overall cost. Supporters, meanwhile, maintain that the Games generate benefits that extend well beyond financial calculations, highlighting the value of rehabilitation, international cooperation, and recognition for wounded service members. According to reports, another issue has also been developing behind the scenes. Critics claim that some qualified professionals were reportedly hesitant to pursue positions connected to the Birmingham operation because of ongoing controversy and public debate surrounding the Invictus brand itself. If accurate, they argue, that could present a meaningful reputational challenge. Financial pressures are one obstacle, but reports suggesting that experienced professionals may hesitate to associate themselves with the project raise an entirely different set of questions about confidence, perception, and the organisation's ability to attract support moving forward. For many critics, this is the point where the discussion begins extending well beyond the Invictus Games themselves. They argue that attention has increasingly shifted toward other organisations Prince Harry has been connected with over the years, with each situation becoming part of a broader public conversation about leadership, accountability, and public confidence. Centre Barley, the charity Prince Harry co-founded in honour of his mother, became the subject of widely reported disagreements involving leadership disputes, legal proceedings, resignations, and internal tensions that generated significant media coverage. Those developments prompted fresh discussion about governance and decision-making, with critics pointing to the organisation as another example of a project facing public challenges. African Parks has also received widespread attention following reports about allegations and concerns that generated extensive international coverage. Critics have questioned Prince Harry's response and level of public engagement regarding those matters, while supporters argue the situations are far more complex than they are sometimes portrayed in public discussions. They also note that many of the issues involve multiple organisations and individuals rather than any single person. Even so, critics say they continue noticing what they believe is a recurring pattern. They point to projects that begin with strong public goodwill and widespread support, but later become associated with leadership disagreements, resignations, governance questions, or continuing public controversy. Whether or not that interpretation is fair remains part of the wider debate, but it helps explain why scrutiny surrounding Invictus has grown into something much larger than a discussion about one sporting event. For many observers, it has become part of a broader conversation that shows little sign of fading anytime soon. Even the recognition Prince Harry has received has become another topic of debate, when he reportedly received the Pat Tillman Award, named after former NFL player and soldier Pat Tillman. Reactions appeared almost immediately. Supporters praised his long-standing work with veterans, and the role he played in establishing the Invictus Games. While critics argued the recognition should have gone to someone else, the discussion quickly spread across social media platforms and online forums where opinions remained sharply divided. Some critics argued that Prince Harry was being recognised largely because of his global public profile rather than the level of his direct day-to-day involvement. Their argument was not necessarily that he performed the role poorly. Instead, they questioned how closely he remained involved in the organisation's daily operations and ongoing management. Others strongly rejected that criticism, pointing out that many believe the Invictus Games would never have achieved their international reach without his leadership and public advocacy. Regardless of which position people supported, the award became another major flashpoint in an already active public debate. According to continuing reports and commentary, that growing level of scrutiny may also help explain why questions are reportedly being raised within royal circles. Reports have suggested that Prince William and individuals connected to the Royal Foundation continue placing a strong emphasis on transparency, accountability, and clear governance standards, with many observers closely watching how those priorities may shape future charitable initiatives. According to critics, the request is actually quite simple. Present the financial figures, clearly explain how the money is being used, and respond directly to the questions that continue being raised. Whether those reports ultimately prove accurate or not, they have continued fueling speculation about the relationship between the monarchy and the Invictus Games. Some commentators have even suggested that the reported absence of senior royals from future events may have less to do with personal family tensions and more to do with avoiding any connection to an ongoing public controversy. At least that remains the theory many critics continue discussing. Supporters, however, argue there could be many reasons for attendance decisions that have nothing to do with controversy. Even so, the debate has continued to grow. And according to critics, the conversation no longer centres solely on Prince Harry. They argue that Meghan's public image, commercial ventures, and branding decisions have also become part of the wider discussion. During visits to Australia, including appearances connected to communities recovering from tragedy, as well as visits with hospital patients, some critics later claimed Meghan benefited from increased publicity when clothing she wore reportedly became linked to online promotion and heightened consumer interest. Those reports quickly attracted attention because of the sensitive circumstances surrounding the visits. Supporters argue that kind of public attention is simply part of life for many well-known public figures and celebrities. Critics, however, viewed the situation very differently, believing the timing made the issue more controversial. Because those appearances were connected to emotional events, the discussion gained additional momentum and continued spreading across social media and online commentary. Meanwhile, Meghan's lifestyle brand has also faced significant online discussion. Critics have claimed that some product launches reportedly fell short of expectations, while certain releases appeared to generate more online conversation than measurable consumer demand. Among the products most frequently discussed were candles and other home goods that became the focus of ongoing debate across social media platforms. Some critics pointed to reports of premium pricing, while others questioned product quality after customer complaints reportedly appeared online. Whether those criticisms are entirely fair or not remains open to interpretation, but the conversations quickly became part of the broader narrative surrounding the brand. There was also continued discussion surrounding references to family themes and personal milestones used in branding. Critics argued that certain marketing choices felt overly personal, while supporters viewed them simply as harmless storytelling, designed to make products feel more meaningful and relatable. As with many aspects of this broader debate, opinions remain sharply divided. Another incident that attracted attention involved reports claiming a gift package had been sent to a supporter who had previously shared online criticism of Prince William and Princess Catherine. Critics immediately pointed to the story as something they believed reflected negatively on Meghan's public image. Supporters, meanwhile, questioned whether the importance of the incident was being overstated. That difference in interpretation has become another example of how nearly every development connected to the couple now generates sharply opposing reactions and keeps the wider debate alive. According to some critics, Prince Harry remains genuinely committed to the charitable mission behind the Invictus Games and believes in what the organisation was created to accomplish. They argue that many of the strongest complaints emerge whenever public attention shifts away from the veterans and towards celebrity headlines or royal controversy. Whether that assessment is fair depends on who you ask, but it is an argument that continues resurfacing whenever the future of the Games is discussed. Another theory gaining momentum among critics is a more uncomfortable one. They argue that Harry either does not fully recognise how large the controversy has become, or he is unwilling to confront it directly and say, "We need to step back." That suggestion continues appearing throughout the public debate. At the same time, reports and commentary claim that some insiders have been expressing concerns behind the scenes. According to those reports, the immediate priority is simply getting the Birmingham Games completed successfully. Some commentators suggest those connected to the organisation are focused on delivering the event first, while leaving bigger questions about finances, governance, and transparency for later. As things stand today, the petition continues attracting attention. Senior royals are reportedly expected to keep their distance. Boeing reportedly chose not to renew its sponsorship. Questions also continue surrounding government funding, corporate sponsorships, financial transparency, and the long-term direction of the Games. No matter what happens next, Prince Harry is still expected to remain front and centre in Birmingham because, according to many observers, not attending simply is not a realistic option. The real question is not whether Harry will be there. The real question is what kind of future will be waiting for the Invictus Games once the event begins. If you enjoyed this breakdown, let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you believe the criticism is justified, or do you think the Invictus Games deserve more support despite the controversy? We'd love to hear your perspective. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest royal news, controversies, and updates.